Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions 4 p.m. BST on a Tuesday. With me today is co-host Isabella Hamilton and of course Athena Severi. How are we doing, guys?
Good morning.
Good morning. So happy to be here with you guys.
Thank you.
All right, so obviously you probably don't need to do as much as an introduction considering you're taking over Mondays, but Athena, you're back again. You've been on the platform multiple times. Do you want to do a quick introduction to yourself and I will share to the groups?
Sure. So my name is Athena Severi. I'm the co-founder of Titan Network. We are a mastermind that helps sellers of all levels to achieve higher levels of success. I'm also the founder of China Magic, and I'm a networker. I love events, I love community, and I was very, very honored to have won the Seller Poll Award this last year, which was amazing, as well as Isabella. So it's just been a magical year so far, and just so excited to talk to you guys today.
Excellent. All right.
And Athena's a Clubhouse influencer now.
I'm a Clubhouse junkie, more like it. So we'll talk about that in a second. And,
So today, I mean, look, I think Izzy, you were on with Lee Rand, you discussed Clubhouse. Yesterday, you done a segment on Clubhouse with your guest yesterday. So this is a Clubhouse episode. I want to take it in a slightly different direction. I think it's here to have impact. We joke about it like, is Clubhouse the new crack house for Amazon sellers, the industry and everything else? And it's early infancy in its platform. And I just think it'd be good to kind of discuss certain things. Like I've got a load of observations. I'm sure you guys have as well. Like Rich Goldstein's going to join us a bit later. He's just finishing a meeting, and so is Brandon Young, and I think Kevin King may be jumping on. Sharon couldn't make it. But how I know who's on the platform a lot is by the alerts on your phone. So on your iPhone, you know, when you get the little alerts, every time an alert comes up, it's got Athena, it's got Isabella, it's got Rich, it's got a few people that just like, it's like, how the fuck did they get on to doing it? And it's like that addiction. I think I sent you a message the other day. I recalled the message, Bella, but it was 5, 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I went into Clubhouse and you're in there and I'm thinking, does she not fucking sleep? Do you know what I mean? Obviously you'd left Clubhouse and fell asleep with the phone in your hand or something. I don't know, but it is definitely starting to have an impact. So starting with you, Athena, what impact have you seen with Clubhouse? What are some of your observations?
Well, it's a very unique and wild time because it is so new, so it's sort of virgin territory. And I'm seeing legends. I mean, the top of business minds and, you know, some of the most famous artists, executives. I mean, these are really some of the top 1% of 1% who are on there for like 12 hours straight. And I'm not even kidding. And so you're getting access to people that you normally wouldn't be having conversations with. And I think one of the things that's so addicting about Clubhouse is that it's live, there's no recordings. And so the FOMO factor of it is so crazy high because I've been in some rooms getting information that was enhancing my life in my mind. And I just can't put it down because there's, you know, like you don't know who's going to pop up there and what they're going to say and what's going to happen. And especially if it's a hot topic, something that really interests you, you know, it creates that FOMO, which is, I think, part of the addictiveness of it all.
Yeah. Isa, what's your initial thoughts?
So I have so many thoughts. I don't know where to start because when I first got on it, I was like, oh my God, this is like gold. I love this so much. It's, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, and I like to say a lot of them, I don't know if everyone, but we like to learn. We want to know everything. So for me, when I got on, I was like, holy cow, there's Dan Fleischman, there's Barry Belcher, there's all these guys, the Morrisons, and all these guys who like maybe you hear at a conference and you hear them for a very limited time. And you go there, you pay, you stay for 2 days, and then you get some lessons and then you come home. And now here they are, just, I feel like they're just giving it all, right? So just like Athena said, it definitely feels like, holy cow, if I get off of this right now, I'm never going to hear what they're going to say. But so the other side, so actually I haven't been on Clubhouse for like 4 days now.
And 4 days, really?
Yeah, I just
I'm
turned it
gonna
on
check
this
my
morning.
alerts.
No.
Yeah,
I
check.
just turned on this morning because I was like, okay, I'm going to be talking about Clubhouse. Maybe I should check it out. And again, I get sucked in. So there's this one guy that I really like, Rob Moore. I've been following him for years. He has Disruptive Entrepreneur. So like people like that, I see them on and I'm like, I have to listen. But at the same time, I look at my calendar and I'm like, okay, so I have this call and I have this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And it's like, you have to make sure that you're always going to put more attention into what your moneymaker is, because it's very easy to get sucked into all of this and then
So
not
do you have a Clubhouse calendar? So like you've got all your bookings, have got this call to do, and then there's a section gap filled for Clubhouse for the different.
no
Yeah.
that sometimes like I'll put it like right now it's on because I was like, let me see what's going on. And but sometimes at night, like if I'm just like relaxing, I'll turn it on and I'll take some notes. But it's hard to fill that in, and I don't ever want to get that distracted that my business is falling behind. Even though, so one good thing for me about Clubhouse is I met some really great people. I had like I met this guy, like I'm in contact with him. He's like very, very big and like entrepreneur. So like he's able to give me like some of his thoughts. So these things are good, but I feel like we're always trying to catch the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So if you met somebody and you're already starting a relationship, or you're working on a project, like there's so many shiny objects out there. It's like you want to catch all the fish, but kind of like take it easy.
Okay. I'll share some of my thoughts on it, and I haven't gone too much outside of the Amazon group. So a few things I've noticed if I was to really support it and pick bits apart as well. The way I see it on Clubhouse, and this is based around for the community and everything else. We have all these mediums, right? We have podcasts, we have lives, and so you've got your attention can only go to so many places, right? So you want to seek out the best content all the time. And I think Clubhouse has a tremendous opportunity to upserve the side of podcasts and lives like what we're doing. This could have impact on us, but I actually welcome it, because the way I see it is that you've got to be on your game and you've got to put out the best content as possible. In the end, that's where people go, is where the content's at and how they can consume it. So a podcast you can play back, but the Clubhouse is that dopamine hit that it's got to be there and then. And I think there's still a stage where there's training wheels happening. Like the most common thing I hear when I go into, and Athena can probably not attest to this, but because she's been in other more professional rooms where you've got the Perrys and you've got the big name guys and stuff in there, is that what I found is there's a slight disconnect within Clubhouse on the Amazon side in some cases. What I mean by this, like we're seasoned, we're in front of a microphone all the time, right? So we will still make mistakes, but there's a bit more fluidness about it. And I find that you could go into a room and then the moderator's quite new, right? So they're getting their training wheels going. And have you noticed the awkward silences? So someone would speak, right? But then the presenter would maybe not say, oh, so-and-so, what do you think? They're waiting for someone to answer the end of the question. And this human nature thing comes in going, I'm going to be polite and I'll hold for 1.5 seconds. And then 4 people try and speak at the same time. So you end up with a dry gap and then everyone tries to pour in. And I think how do you stop that? Well, one of the ways to stop that is keep the room fluid. The moderator, regardless of their skill set, they're still learning, right? Some are more accomplished. It's just to ask people, oh, such and such, what's your thoughts on this? This person's had this, and keep pointing around the room to get that fluidity going. The other thing that I noticed as well is I don't know where it comes from. Maybe you can tell me this. Where did reset the room come from? Was it some sort of marketing room that started out on Clubhouse? This is how you should use it. Because it's very common for people to say reset the room. And that's fine. But don't also remember, why did someone go into that room? They went into the room because they got an alert on their phone. When they got to Clubhouse, they had to click on it, which gives you the title of the room anyway. So a room reset is good. But it's difficult when a room reset happens and it's said every 2 to 10 minutes, say, and then you're getting people who comes up on the stage and doing the introduction, so the flow ends up being disturbed. So it's getting the balance, keeping everyone engaged. How do we reset the room? Like I see, I can't remember who it was. Someone done it the other day. They're very, very quick with the reset the room. New guys come in just to reset the room. Today we're going to be talking about the Q&A, and straight in. And that was really, really smooth. And I found that the rooms are as good as the knowledge that can be provided, one, which comes from asking questions. And it's also the skill set of the moderator. Can that moderator keep that flow going? Does that make sense? So I think if them kind of training wheels come off for some of the newer moderators, which is I think is great, which goes back to my point, is that what we've been trying to do with the podcast is like Isabella's on Monday, Sharon's on a Thursday. We're pushing to try and bring a new wave of people through in the industry, give other people opportunities that may not get onto different podcasts and the lives and stuff like that. So I think what's happened with Clubhouse, it's end up being a bit of a land grab. There's a lot of people on there, they're setting up rooms, and I welcome that, and I think that's great. And all it comes down to, the cream always rises. Yeah, so people are going to carry on tuning into these people if they give the right information. Also, you're going to have people like service providers and stuff. Of course, they're looking to pick up customers and stuff like that. But I still think if you can do it and the mindset more, and I'm going to be biased here because that's always been my drive, is content first. Yeah. But I think if you're on that platform, and let's just say you're a PPC guy or girl who doesn't get on all to the podcast and stuff like that, this is a great opportunity to make your stamp and share good information and give a different voice within inside of the community. But I still think if you go onto that platform and you're salesy and always referencing the course that you sell and the this that you do and constantly, people can see straight through that and they won't necessarily attend your room. So I think Clubhouse is phenomenal, and I think that dopamine hit, like you said, the FOMO and everything else, I think it could be a great medium for people to be able to kick back and get good information off of that platform if the train wheels come off and people are much more fluid with their rooms. And that all takes time, right? You don't suddenly become a sprinter overnight. You've got to do all the everything in between to get to where you go. So all this takes time, but I do think it's a great platform. And I'm sorry, I don't want to dominate the show because I want to hand back, but there's one last thought I wanted to talk about, is that I still think there's a step where there's a lot of people brains you put onto the stage, and then you've got the audience that ask questions. And I think one of the tricky parts of when audience asks questions is nervousness, right? So I've seen Athena try and correct the path of trying to get the person to ask the question, because people, if there is a way of articulating to say to someone, please answer your question very directly, 30 seconds or less, would be easier to get the person. But I think what happens, people get nervous, right? They see their peers and people they respect in the industry, the microphone gets on, and then they're like, yeah, so, and before you know it, they've asked 7 questions in one. And it's like, well, where do you pick off those questions and which one do you start with? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good at cutting people off. And it's like, so what exactly are you trying to ask?
Yeah, but I think all that comes down to is, again, it's nervousness. I imagine if Fina's in a room with Gary Vee, Grant Cardone and all those kind of people, even though she's well oiled on the machine side of things, I bet you she gets nervous and her adrenaline and levels go up if the mic was passed to her. Yeah, but it's natural. So again, how do you address that? Because the important thing is, it's a great way where audience, sellers and stuff in the community can come up and ask their questions in a live environment. But then you've got the knowledge in the room as well. How do you split that? Because you don't want to say to people, oh, we're going to put you in the basic room and you're in the intermediate and advanced, because effectively you're taking their choices away. But how do you balance those rooms? Because I've gone into rooms and people say not selling on Amazon, and as a listener, not someone on stage, it's not always going to be in interest for me to the questions being asked because they're not yet a seller on Amazon. So therefore I won't learn anything. But you've got then a stage. So you've got the moderators, then you've got the stage where everyone gets invited up, and then you've got the audience as well. And so some of the best rooms I've seen is when the stage has that communication between each other and the audience learn because the questions that are being asked. But again, you don't want to alienate the audience, because that would be completely unfair. It's like, but how do you get that cohesiveness? Welcome to the show, my other co-host, Sharon Evan, who said, no, I won't be coming on today, but couldn't resist it. So here she is. I've just jabbered now, but hopefully I've got a load of things out. I'd like these guys to pick it apart.
Yeah. Is it okay if I go, Danny?
You go. Yeah.
Okay. So I see a few different things, a few different layers to Clubhouse. And of course, this is new. But for me, at least, I see the information from someone who is definitely, 10 steps ahead of us. We're talking about the Perry Belchers or the Gary V's or the Camerons or the guys who are, elite TED Talk type people who are just going to be 10 steps ahead of all of us, right? And we can definitely learn from them and even connect with them. I've actually connected with most of them because I am a networker, and now I have them. I had a dinner with Perry Belcher, Dan Henry, Myron Golden. I mean, like literally the who's who of Clubhouse. I figured out who lived in my area. We actually had a real life dinner. We conversed. We are now going to be helping each other in different ways. So that is one thing you can do. Is you can connect with people who are, 10 steps ahead of us, get the content, connect with them hopefully, and that's one layer, right? Another layer is to find peers, find other people in the industry. For example, Isabella, Sharon, and I, let's say we didn't know each other before, we could find each other because we keep popping up in these different rooms. We get pulled up to the stage and we start to notice each other. I see a lot of that happening where we're able to connect with each other. We're able to kind of find synergistic relationships between, different worlds. For example, like there's people that have whole worlds in Amazon that I didn't even know existed that I can now connect with and say, hey, this is what we do. This is what you do. Let's do a room together. Let's work together. Let's help a lot of people. And I think that that's a fantastic thing, right? A comment on salesiness. If somebody comes up to my stage and they are pitching, they're not very welcome because nobody wants to sit there and listen to their pitch. What we like is we like content. We like people bringing good conversation, asking good questions. That is value, and nobody is welcome if they're doing weird pitches. On the other hand, we also don't want all these brilliant people that do have services. For example, Bella has Rank Bell, right? And it's a fantastic service. So on one hand, I want her to bring through her knowledge, her content, her personality. But if there is something that can help people, I also want that to be brought through in a very tactful and intelligent way. Because if we don't bring through some of those services, we're also kind of doing a disservice to the people. So it's this weird balance where we want to do value, content. But at the same time, I am seeing some of these brilliant people who are 10 steps ahead of us saying, hey guys, if you're interested in real estate, you can connect with me here. And I have this whatever. And I've been signing up for all kinds of stuff because I'm very curious about, this health thing and this biohacking thing and this like investment thing and all this stuff. And if they didn't provide some way for me to find out more, then I would just be listening to like little excerpts of their information and have no way for me to go get more information, connect with them. Cameron's talking about all this really wild ways of like hacking your morning and stuff, and he's got like little courses and stuff on it, and I'm like, yes, please, yes, more of that, yes. So I think there's that balance that we have to find. Sorry, I'm going to just rapidly throw a few other concepts out, and then I'll give them over to you guys. So in these rooms, one of the things that I find difficult, and I am modding rooms, I'm creating rooms, and I'm playing with these rooms. I'm seeing what other people are doing. I'm testing different things. I don't think I have it figured out by any means. And I'm just going out there and putting myself out there and just seeing what seems to work and what doesn't. And you can tell because rooms grow or they shrink. People get engaged or they don't. So I do believe that Clubhouse is in its infancy right now, and we don't know all the answers, and we're very open to feedback because I think that that's the only way that any of us are going to figure this thing out, right? But yesterday, I opened a room, and I specifically said for advanced sellers, and the reason I did that is because I'm trying to connect with other people who are in the game, right? Because one of the things I'm seeing is you bring in the Casey Gosses, the Kevin Kings, the Danny McMillans, the Bellas, the Sharons, you bring all these people in, right? And then you've got this crowd of like super novices that know nothing about Amazon, and the questions they're asking are like, hey,
that was my point earlier. The disconnect is like, how do you marry that? Because there's got to be a way to adjust that. Because is it because there's not adoption enough yet from more advanced sellers? Has the community jumped on it yet? Because I can see value in the but it's about how many people in our community have got iPhones rather than say Androids and stuff. So there are them limitations because it's still in beta, isn't it?
It is. So what I decided to do yesterday, just as a test, and like I said, guys, I am testing, I am trying different things. We're seeing what works, what doesn't work. Like, that's the only way to do this properly, right? So yesterday I was like, that's it. I'm going to figure this out. And I put advanced sellers only, right? And I attracted a bunch of 8 and 9 figure sellers. I attracted some old friends I hadn't seen in a couple of years that I know are 8 figure sellers that are quite brilliant. And the level of conversation, instead of just taking random questions from the audience, I said, raise your hand if you're already 7 figures or above. I pulled all the guys.
So you created a filter straight away.
Yeah. Filter. I said, if you're 7 figures or above, come up on stage. And I brought a bunch of people. I only moderated, which means, like, just so everyone knows, that's more of the admin. It's sort of like the in charge of the room. I modded people I knew, and the ones I didn't know, I made them speakers, right? And then we had some really innovative conversation. We were talking about some really interesting things having to do with TikTok, having to do with ManyChat, having to do with a lot of different concepts. Somebody had just sold their business for 8 figures. She's 25 years old. She was telling us about that. Like, the conversation was lovely. And there were people in the room who were not selling, but they were very fascinated by the conversation. So I thought that that was quite valuable. I think what I'd like to do in the future is say, hey, let's open a room for someone who's curious about the Amazon FBA opportunity, because we do want to help people, we want to serve people, but what we end up doing when we just serve that level is we lose any valuable conversation with the rest of all these amazing people who are taking their time. Like, Casey Goss doesn't want to talk about how to open your Amazon account. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he will out of the goodness of his heart.
He's one of the most polite guys in the world. So meaning that it's not like he doesn't want to answer it, but he's probably not best served to answer that question. Like you said, he works in different areas, and even his peers in the industry listen. Effectively.
You want to hear him talk.
Effectively, he could sing the phone book and put it down on tape, and someone would buy it because it's Casey Goss, right? Yeah, but that's where the importance comes into the value of the conversation. And how do you tier those conversations without ostracizing other people? Because it's meant to be inclusive platform. Yeah.
Exactly. So my thought, now, Casey is a prince. He's adorable, lovely. I didn't mean to single him out. But let's say we have a room, and the purpose of that room is to help people who are looking to begin. That means that, my guys, from Titan, or, Bella, or you, Danny, or Sharon, or Casey, or Kevin, or whoever's around, they know they're going to jump into that room, and we're going to talk about how to start. We're going to tell our stories. We're going to give them encouragement. And that's what the next hour or two is going to be of our lives, which all of us are very willing to do because we want to give back. But that's not going to, I think it just turns off the higher sellers, and then it doesn't serve the novices if we try to always mush them together. So that's just a test that I'm doing. And like I said, Danny, all of this is new to me. All of this is most of us, like all of us actually, because it's a new app. So I think without going in there and testing different things, we're never going to figure out how do we best serve our industry. And to me, I think that's a little tidbit of something I've been playing with.
Yeah, sounds good. Sharon.
So I was downstairs with my son, and then I heard you guys, and I said to my husband, give me 20 minutes and I'll be back. So
cool.
That's it. I think that I had mixed feelings about Clubhouse originally. Are you getting feedback from me, Danny, or is it just me?
No, it's fine.
Okay. I was like, it's wasting so much of my time. I kept going on, and just like Isabella was saying earlier, and I was like, and I was in a few rooms where I felt like it was sort of like who has a bigger dick game. And I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. Yeah. And I was like, look, it's, I didn't find it positive initially.
Yeah.
And then you, Danny, had a conversation with me, and it opened up my mind to it. And I decided to look at it differently. And I think today I'm really thankful for it, because before that I had never spoken to Athena, and I'd never spoken to Anna, and I'd never spoken so much to Regina, and I've never spoken to Rana, who's writing here in the comments, and Jo in Israel, who's part of my group. I've never spoken to her before, and suddenly you're speaking and hearing these people's voices and connecting with them. And that's what I'm mostly thankful for as well, as someone who's, you know, also in the industry. And I don't live in America, I live in Israel, and I've never met anyone in the industry face to face who doesn't live here. So I'm thankful for it because of that, because we've been able to connect. And on the audience side, the people who are listening to us, I think that initially, you know, it's a struggle when you get into this industry. I think Athena is very, actually both Athena and Isabella, and also you, I'm probably the newest to it, have experience in this. When I got into the industry, I didn't realize how cutthroat it was. You know, it seemed a lot of the time, pose. it seemed like, you know, a lot of the time, it's cutthroat, and it seems like many times, you know, people are against each other, right? And I've spoken to you about it, Danny, how I had to learn how to put the competitive side of entrepreneurship on the side and learn how to be positive in the industry. And I think that Clubhouse has actually, for someone like me who's learning how to find myself within this community, has helped someone like me who's very competitive. And, you know, I don't need to explain to you who I am, Danny. You know who I am, and I'm sure people have gotten.
You're a work in progress.
Yeah, I'm work in progress. I'm working on myself a lot.
Everyone's a work in progress. It's just it all comes down to it. And I think the point you're trying to get to is someone doesn't have to lose for you to win, right? It's
100%.
not like an inputs and outputs, and that comes down to, you know, the virtual signaling and all that kind of stuff. Comes back down to you. You don't have to bring down others to bring yourself up. And I don't mean that in the fun.
No, it's not just that. It's the collaboration part of it. It's, you know, someone's asking a question, and that maybe usually I'd want to be the first to answer. And I was like, shut up and say, hey, do you want to answer this? You know, that's what I've been learning from it. And then I've started to listen more. And when you listen, I've noticed that I was like, hey, you know, I met someone yesterday who does Amazon handmade, and she kept on going on about it. I was like, whoa, I love this subject. I have to and we kept asking her questions as moderators. So I think that on that service level and on you know, our side of things, I'm loving it because we get to connect and meet each other. And I mean, Athena probably knows everyone, and so does Danny, and so does Isabella. But, you know, I've never, like I said, met many of you, so I'm very thankful for it. And on the other side of it, I think it's just amazing also that people have access to people like us. You know, it's I've had so many people send me, you know, DMs and be like, oh, I listened to you, you know, thanks for sharing this information. And, you know, it's always heartwarming to know that you're able to help someone as well. So that was my speech about it.
Cool. Bella, do you want to share anything? Sorry, we're going back around the room now.
It's fine. I mean, there's just so much to say, and I agree with both Sharon and Athena. It's like you get on Clubhouse, and especially for me, like I listen a lot. I mean, sometimes I'll speak, but I love to listen. Like Sharon said, like I get to meet all these people who I look up to, and they're like, oh my God, they're amazing. And I know they offer so much content. But again, I go back to when enough is enough. Like, I just want to make sure that people don't get too sucked in, because that was me. And I'm only speaking from experience. Like I was there every single day and every single night. And, you know, I would get off and I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to sleep. I'm going to miss on this great conversation. And then again, you have to look at, okay, what is it important? So if you can create a schedule, just like anything else, like you were saying, Danny, maybe create a schedule. Like, okay, maybe I'll be on Clubhouse from this time to this time, and then make sure that your work still gets done. I can see how this platform is very good for somebody selling things. I know people that have made already a lot of money on this from selling courses, and, you know, just like Athena was saying, like everybody's offering so much value that it's like, oh, I don't want to miss on this. So I'm going to sign up for this free ebook and for this free ebook and for this and for this. And we always want to do that. But I guess we have to make sure when to cut the cord and know when to take that time and actually use what you've learned. Like I've learned a few things that I want to implement, but if I keep staying on it and there's a new idea and a new thing and a new piece of knowledge, and it's like you are overwhelmed with all this knowledge, you're never going to apply it, and then you keep going to the next room. I've seen rooms that end after like 3 days and somebody will jump right into the next room. Like, what can I get now? Like when you have so much information overload, when are you ever going to actually implement that? So I love Clubhouse. I love everything about it. I love the concept. And like Sharon said, I love that I connected. Like the lady I had on yesterday, I met her at War Room like 2 years ago. We reconnected. I was like, oh my God, it's you. And she's like, oh my God, it's you. So these things are great. I'm probably going to have like some guests on seller sessions from there because I think they're just fantastic people. But again, make sure you have a goal. Like for me, I want to meet interesting people, smarter people than me. Maybe I can get some on seller sessions. Maybe I can find some that I can create friendships with, but know what you're going in for. Don't just go in there and be like, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Just like with anything else, with business, with relationships, with really anything, know what you want before you go in it.
Yeah.
100%. Sorry, Danny, I don't want to go on a long tangent, but she said something that is so perfect and so beautiful. I feel like we need a Clubhouse with intention. I feel like we should open rooms and have a certain amount of time. I mean, this is just my opinion again, but like maybe we say, okay, from this time to this time, we're going to be opening this room. We're going to have this level or this topic and just make it a little bit more focused so that people go in there, they connect with each other, they get the information, they get that hit of dopamine or whatever you call it, but it's not this forever endless thing. I mean, you can Clubhouse that way. Like for example, when I'm working out or I'm driving or whatever, I've been putting on Clubhouse in the background and just kind of jumping in here and there. That's cool. But it is very easy to lose yourself in it and not implement like what Bella was saying. Sorry, go ahead, Danny. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say, I'm going to quickly go to the comments and then we'll jump back in. So Joanne says, lol, so weird to see everyone speak. So used to just hearing voices on Clubhouse. Clubhouse needs an option to add chats to the favour list since many discussions happened at the same time. That way you can easily toggle switch between rooms instead of searching through the calendar. Joanne again, yes, overused phrase next to mindset. I think she was talking about resetting the room. Abu Bakua, sorry, Abu, I hope I didn't monster your name there. I'm terrible. Will this podcast be continued when Clubhouse gets global? I only listen to this podcast. Lots of value bombs every day. Thanks for this. There shouldn't be any change. I sent Sharon and Bella the other day. We got some data. A company sent it over to me from 2 million podcasts they've done. It works out Seller Sessions is in the top 1.5% podcasts on the planet if you include the 2 million. There are other guys up there as well, but I think we're going to be around for a bit. But going back to what I said, it's all good, healthy competition. It means like if we started to lose listeners from the show, it's fine. I don't chase numbers. I chase content and the rest takes care of itself, right? But still, you've got to welcome it and you've got to look at it like plus 600 episodes or so. We have to, change. We can't keep pouring out the same old shit all the time. It's got to be newer, fresher stuff. Look at stuff. Sometimes you're going to win. Sometimes you're going to learn. And it's the same reason Isabella's on the Monday, Sharon's on the Thursday. Why? Because they bring a different flavour. They bring a different audience. They're different people to me. And it's about that diversity and understanding as an evolving community. We have to evolve as a platform as well, or else we're going to stand still. Some things are going to work out and some won't. But what we do know is that we're constantly putting out what we believe the best content we can do possible. Which means is that if you didn't like the last episode, you might like the one after that and the one after that and the one after that, one after that. It's the same as the Gary Vee model.
And can I mention one thing? Yeah. So is that, will the podcast world still exist? I mean, just like, TikTok came along and everybody was crazy about it. Nobody left Facebook. Nobody left Instagram. Nobody left anything. Like people are not going to, like, I still listen to my favorite podcast. I still listen to Andy Frisilla. As soon as his episode goes on, I'm the first to listen. So even though there's a very cool Clubhouse room. So I don't think it's that. And it goes with services too. People are like, oh my God, like there's a new service in town. Are you worried? No, there's so many people out there. There's so many sellers. There's just so much. and I like to talk about this a lot. It's like that scarcity mindset. Like, don't have that. Like, try not to have that. There's enough for everyone. And I think when you have that deeply ingrained into yourself that there's enough, you will never feel threatened.
You'll never go hungry when you know that the pie is big enough for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's also a different audience, in my opinion. It's just like Isabella said, compared to like TikTok, right? I don't think that necessarily TikTok and Instagram and Facebook is the same type of audience, right? If we look at Anthony, who has like what, I don't know, 100K followers on TikTok, right? And the audience he has there isn't the same audience that he has on Instagram, and all of us, right? So I think that same with Clubhouse. It's not necessarily going to be the same type of people that listen to the podcast. Yeah. Maybe some, but not all.
Well, it's the format as well. It's passive, right? So it's passive. The people that listen to the podcast are the guys that are in the gym, play it in the background. It's very passive. Like, you can do really well on YouTube, but podcasts don't work on YouTube. Why? Because they're visual, unless it's a visual podcast, right? But it tends to be the podcast, because the reason I found that is that we tried absolutely everything before we opened the podcast. So we done, back in 2017, it started as a webinar every 2 weeks. Then the webinars fell over because the guests were signing in from hotels in Hong Kong and stuff. So they'd collapse and it'd be like a waste of time. But you had a main list. He took the main list, he sent them to a YouTube channel. We built up a catalogue on YouTube. Then we set the blog up and back optimized the website to conclude all the blogs. And then we decided, do you know what? Why don't we do a podcast? Because our growth was really slow. And then we grew 40% month on month. It took off like a fucking rocket ship. So it comes down to the suitability of mediums. Yeah, like TikTok isn't a podcast audience. It's a different consumption of medium. And I think Clubhouse is that as well, unless Clubhouse starts to take a form and shape for passive interaction, listening. They might have an archives function which you can play back this show for the next 10 days. You don't know, do you? Because you've got to get to that stage of development. I'll quickly finish off these comments here. Rainer says, the networking on Clubhouse has been amazing synergy. He follows up with, I find the intros take too much time. Let the people look up the bios on their own. Let the conversations flow. He then comes back and says, great idea of filtering Q&A novice rooms versus high-level mastermind rooms. Joanna says, blimey, it's the big one. I just covered the girls up. Do you know this call? Do you know, guys? Do you guys discuss behind the scenes and have a general understanding with mods who not to bring up to the panel to prevent false information? For example, notice someone known in the FBA world on a panel of $1 million expert doesn't sell, only promotes courses, jumping in and around many rooms and Clubhouse members. This, I don't need to read the rest of the comment, but you get the idea. Yeah, that's, people have to filter. Runner says collaboration is the secret sauce. Sharing is caring. Cybe's back. Hey guys, hasn't a platform like this come to the lack of events that need for more interaction? Will it still have a place if and when we can meet again? Go on. I think he's made a good point there. Athena.
I think nothing is going to ever replace the interaction live. I think that it definitely brings us connected, like it connects us in a way that we are all craving. I do think that, like, for example, Sharon mentioned, her and I had never really had a conversation. We might have interacted on social, but it's very different than hearing each other's voices. So I think that Clubhouse is amazing and it's going to continue, but there is nothing in this world that will ever replace events. I don't think it's one or the other. It's not like a telephone stopped, parties, like, you know what I mean?
Well, we don't know how long lockdown's going to be. You never know. This might stop. We might just run for the hills as soon as we were let out the houses. It's like, oh shit, we haven't done the podcast for 3 weeks because everyone's out partying and going to see everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, Danny, you're so coming to my event. You better be like, we're going to do this.
We'll see. Ran it again. He's back. The boy is back. Athena hit the nail on the head with intention. From my last room, I actually published a prep document and shared with invited speakers before we opened the room to set the intention and the theme of the room. That's a good idea, getting the preparation up front to do that.
Very I think it's been just sort of spur of the moment, whoever jumps in. I know a lot of people, so when I see them pop in the room, I bring them up, I mod them, I trust them, I love them. Like, these are my actual deep friends. And then some new ones that I've been modding. But I think that there's going to be a combo. And Danny, like I mentioned earlier, Clubhouse is a new territory. I think we're all discovering ourselves, how we relate to people on it, how we open rooms, what kind of rooms are needed. So until we test different things, I don't think anyone has all the answers yet.
Yeah. So for people listening in and playback on the podcast, some suggestions if they're not on Clubhouse yet or they're not getting the maximum out of it, going back to optimizing your time on Clubhouse, where to go, what to do, starting with you, Izza, what would you suggest?
So first thing first, if you have never been on Clubhouse, you should probably check it out. I mean, we're all up for trying new things. Make sure you have a profile. I feel like that's very important. So I see people that are super smart, but they have no profile, no way to reach them. And those tend to like not get as many followers. So make sure you have an optimized profile. Make sure you write like who you are, just a little description. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people lie because I've never seen so many multi gazillionaires as I have house. I mean, I don't know if I been missing out? Have I been like hiding from the world? I don't know. But
no, the predators are looking for new prey, and this prey is on this platform. That's the problem.
Try not to lie too much. Like you know, bend the truth a little bit, you know. But anyway, so just make sure you tell people who you are, and you know, just start speaking up. And people are going to make mistakes, and I make mistakes all the time. But the more you speak, like Danny said, like this will let the cream rise to the top. And if you're in a room, raise your hand, even if you think your question is stupid, and you see that all these like experts are there. A lot of people feel intimidated, so just speak up. You never know who you're going to connect with. So, and plus, nobody can see you. Who cares? They're going to forget about you anyway. So just go for it. That's my thing.
Sharon?
Yeah, I think that I was also going to say about, you know, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I did have some people send me a DM on Instagram and said, I just saw you in Clubhouse. And I was like, why didn't you ask the question in Clubhouse? And then they'd say, I was too shy to ask. And I was like, but why? Like Athena said, I think that that's important. And I think that you guys, both Athena and Isabella, you know, are really, it's really, you have to, number one, know what your intention is. And initially I woke up the other day at 4:00 in the morning. My son's 3.5 years old, and he still needs me to help him to go to the toilet. So I helped him out of bed, and then I saw that somebody.
I hope your mic was muted. Was your mic muted?
No, it was muted. It was muted.
Yeah,
it was muted.
Yeah,
but somebody pinged me to come on Clubhouse, and it was 4:30 a.m. something like that. Put my son back to bed, and I was like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna go on for 10 minutes, and then I stayed on until 6 a.m. my time. Right, I had a blast. It was really fun, but I then didn't wake up until like 10:00 in the morning. And I think that putting time aside specifically, if you're going to be on Clubhouse often, put time aside for it. Decide how many hours you're going to be on it a week maximum, which is what I've done for myself, and put that time aside for it so that you don't end up spending your entire day on there and not getting shit done. And like I said, and I agree with with Isabella, there is no such thing as a stupid question. So ask. Well, it's why we're there.
Just on this show, I've come up with an idea. What I'm thinking about doing, because of the addiction to Clubhouse, I think I'm going to open a recovery centre somewhere in a hot country. It's like a retreat, so we can go in and take their phones off them. And they can go, and it will be $9.97. I'll set up a landing page with long text.
I'll go
too.
Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, Athena, what is your parting thoughts on Clubhouse, and what should people do to get the most out of it if you're optimizing your time?
Yeah, I wanted to just, the ladies said so many key things. Another thing is the first couple lines on your bio are the ones that show the most. So if you are someone in Amazon FBA, make sure to put that on the top of your bio. It's very important. Don't leave it blank just because you want to be cool and you think because I'm not a service provider, I have no reason to put my bio. If you are on there, you're there to connect. And if you don't put those 2 lines at the top, no one's going to find you. Here's another thing to know. There is an SEO element to Clubhouse. So if you put Amazon, FBA, e-com, brand, whatever it is that you want to know more about, when somebody's pinging people in the room, they can look up Amazon and they'll just start pinging people that have the word Amazon in their title. So I really highly recommend that you put those things in your title, be accurate with who you are. It's very silly for someone to pretend to be a multi-billionaire when they're not, because the thing is, they're not going to connect with the right people. So be you, be honest, right? But make sure you include all that info. And then make sure you're following the type of people that will open the kinds of rooms that you're interested in, because your hallway will only be populated by the type of people who you are following. So if you're interested, for example, in what we're talking about today, the stuff that Bella, Sharon, Danny, obviously listening to this podcast, so you relate to us. So these are people you would want to connect with, and then it'll give you suggestions of other people to connect with that are like those other people. Follow them. Don't be silly. Don't be like on Instagram where you're trying to only follow 5 people because you want to be so cool. In Clubhouse, it doesn't work that way. You need to follow people who are related to the topics that you are interested in, and that's how you're going to find the rooms. Give us suggestions. If you're not a mod and you have ideas or you have feedback for us, we're open to that, because we're just trying to help and we're trying to put these rooms together to serve you. So we're going to be doing a lot of different things. We're going to try different things, and at least in saying for myself, I'm very open to feedback. If any of you guys want to connect with me and say, hey, Athena, that was cool, or that was shit, or whatever, because like I keep saying, we're all very new to this. So my parting thoughts, I think Clubhouse is fantastic. I love the fact that it connects with the networks. And yeah, it's a fun adventure. It's addictive as F, so be careful. But outside of that, I think it's a wonderful way. And anything that connects you and gets you more information and gets your mind to think outside the box, I think is a very good thing.
Cool. What you got coming up, Athena, and how can people reach you?
So I have an event that is going to be in Cancun in a few weeks, and I'm really excited about it. If somebody wants to connect with me, they can go to titannetwork.com and they can find me there. I'm just always open to any sort of synergies, connections, like we've been doing stuff for women. I can't wait for Branding for Women. And yeah, I just really love this industry. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Danny.
You're more than welcome. Sharon? They know how to get you on the Thursday. We filled your slot for Thursday. You got to guess.
We've got Kian and Rafael talking about what's going on with China right now, and logistics, how crazy logistics is.
Cool. And tomorrow I've got Anthony Lee on. We're going to do like a shared screen, a bit like what we did with Zach last week. Multiple ways of driving traffic off of Amazon to Amazon and to your own site. Bella, what we got coming up with from you next week?
I will have the famous Mr. Vincent from Helium 10 with some really, really cool stuff. And he's brilliant. I saw him at a meetup we did in LA 2 weeks ago, and I can't wait to have him on. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to connecting with more people and doing maybe a room with Athena and Sharon very soon. And I'm just excited to be on Seller Sessions. I really love this platform, and I get so much good feedback. And I'm going to have even more interesting people coming on, so I'm excited.
Cool. All right, guys, we'll sign off now. I'll be back here 4 p.m. BST with Anthony Lee talking external traffic. Of course, Sharon's back Thursday, and don't forget to check Isabella on a Monday. We'd love to get your feedback. If you like the format of the new shows of how we're working with Mondays, Isabella, me Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday is Sharon. Drop me an email, danny@sellersessions.com. Big love to yourselves and your family. Stay safe, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.